Hey, Miss Gideon here. I'm going to continue on with the review for the Unit 7 test. So this is problem number 6. It's an example that's almost exactly like what you see. So let's begin. Which of the following pairs of equations has exactly the same solution? So I've got a first set of equations right here. I'm going to just box it off here. I've got that first set of equations, and I want to know if they have the exact same solution. So I have to solve each equation. So if I'm looking at my -6 equals b divided by 18, I'm solving for the variable, or in this case, b. How do you undo divide by 18? You multiply both sides by 18. And I get 18 times a -6, which gives me, I don't know, I got to put it in there. I thought I was typing it in. 18 times a -6. And this gives me a -108 up here, and I'm left with a b because my 18s cancel out. So over here, I've got the -5 equals a over 18. So I'm going to, again, solve for a. I have to undo divide by 18, so I multiply both sides by 18. So let's try this one. 18 times a -5, well, that gives me a -90 equals a. So these two numbers are not the same, so let's see if it works for the one underneath. I have two sets here, and I'm going to box it in blue there. So now I have 16 equals k divided by 11. To undo divide by 11, we multiply by 11. What we do to one side, we have to do to the other. So I end up with 11 times 16, and this gives me 176 equals k. So let's do the second one, moving right along. We're cooking with butter, that's what I used to say. That means you're going really fast. It's going smooth. All right, so never mind about that. -44 equals b divided by -4. I need to undo divide by -4. I do the opposite of divide, which is multiply. So I multiply by -4. What I do to one side, I have to do to the other side. And then I take my -44 and I multiply my -4. And I get a positive 176 equals b. These two solutions are the same, so I would do this answer choice. Number 7. This is an example very similar to number 7 on the test. Which of the following can be represented by 6x equals 42? So they're giving you an equation, and you're trying to read the scenarios to see which one fits this equation. So let's look at the first one in blue. Alexander bought brownies and divided them up among himself and 6 friends. Each one received 42 brownies. How many brownies did Alexander buy? Well, if he divided them up by himself and 6 friends, this is really 7. So let me just change that for our purposes here. Let me make it 5 friends, so we at least have the number 6 here. So he's actually dividing up the brownies. So if he had a 42, he would be dividing it by 6. So this does not represent my 6x equals 42. We're doing something, we're starting different. So let's look at the one in green and see if that matches. Dean picks 6 friends to play flag football each week. So far, he has picked 42 friends. How many weeks has Dean been doing this? Well, if weeks would represent x, the number of weeks, and he picks 6 friends each week, so that's 6x, and he's doing it for 42 total, so this equation fits my 6x plus 42. So I would pick the one here. So you have to read through these, set up your equations in your head or on paper, because I don't like you to do it in your head, and see which one represents. Notice that the first one, the 42 divided by 6, well, I have the same numbers, but I'm looking for the 6x on one side and the 42 on the other. All right, moving along to number 8. Again, similar to your problem on your test. So just different things. So a scuba diver dives 32 yards in 3 hours. The diver dives the same amount every hour. Complete the equation that represents the amount of change, x, in yards, and solve the equation. So the amount of change, x. So if I have 3x equals hang on, lost my train of thought. The diver dives the same amount every hour. 3x, 2 hours. 3x equals, so this would be 32. In 1 hours, it's 32. So the amount of change is there. So now I need to find how much x is. So if he did the total, so I would have my 3x equals 32. I would divide both sides by 3 because undo multiply. Remember, anytime you see numbers together like a 3x, that really means 3 times x. So I divide by 3 each side. 3 goes into 32. 1. Let's see, I'm going to do this on the calculator. So 32 divided by 3 gives me, and I'm going to leave it as a fraction. So this gives me x equals 32 over 3. That's my solution. So 32 over 3. I promise you on your test it's going to be a better number to use, but I was making these up. So set up your equation. The total amount is going to be what equals, and then you solve for x by dividing by whatever number the hours they're giving you. Number 9, which of the following equations has a solution of -6? Again, you've given 4 examples. You need to solve each one and find which one has a -6 as an example. So, as an answer, excuse me. So the first equation I'm going to do is 9x minus 7 equals -7. Remember, we have to undo any addition or subtraction before we can do multiplication and division. So I've got a -7, so I'm going to do the opposite of minus, which is plus, and keep the same number. But what I do to one side, I have to do to the other side. So these cancel out. I bring down my 9x, and a -7 plus a 7 is 0. Divide both sides by 9 because I undo 9 times. So divide by 9. So I get x equals 0. Well, that is not a solution of -6. So let's do a second one. Here I've got to actually do some distributive property that we talked about in Unit 6. So I'm going to take that 2 and multiply it by my n, which gives me 2n. Then I'm going to take my 2 and multiply it by 5, which gives me a positive 10, equals -2. Again, I'm solving, so I have to do addition and subtraction first. So I minus 10 to both sides. This gives me 2n left on this side of the equation. Remember, sides of the equation are like left side and right side. Okay, and then -2 minus 10 is a -12. Then I divide, because undo 2 times n, I divide by 2 both sides. And this gives me n equals a -6. So I would bubble in that one. One more, and then I'll take another break. We're going to do this in pieces. So which of the following has a solution different from the rest? Watch and read. Don't just solve these. Look at what it's asking. What's different? So I've got 3 equations here. The first one, -12 times x equals 48. To get x by itself, I undo times by dividing both sides by -12. Notice I'm taking the negative sign with it. So x equals, and again, use the Desmos calculator. So I have a 48, and I'm dividing it by -12. This gives me a -4. So my first answer is a -4. Let's try the second problem. X divided by a -2 equals 2. Well, undo divide by -2. I multiply both sides by -2. These cancel out, leaving me x equals 2 times a -2 is a -4. And then let me try this last one. 16x equals 64. Undo 16 times is divide by 16 to both sides. X equals, and I can do 64 divided by 16, which is 4. So which one is different? This is -4. Second one's -4. The third one is a +4. So that is the different one. Remember, the negatives have to match up. All right, I'm going to pause, stop this video, and go to part 3.